Using equipment in the sport of powerlifting makes the seemingly impossible possible. Last year, a man named Dave Hoff squatted 1,273 pounds in competition. Hi, my name is Patrick Miller, and this semester I decided to learn more about the sport of equipped powerlifting and the gym community as a whole. But first, what is powerlifting anyways? Powerlifting is much different than other sports. First, I want to talk about how the seasons kind of work for the sport. Basketball and lacrosse, for example, have specific seasons that occur at specific times of the year. Powerlifting has a year-round season that you can train in whenever you want to. For reference, I only compete about twice a year, so the training takes up predominantly the whole year. The competitions are very few and far between. The training is focused on the squat, the bench, and the deadlift, as that's what the competitions are about. The three main movements are tested on competition days: the squat, the bench, and the deadlift, and you get 3 attempts at each of those movements in order to get the most weight as possible. Your goal is to build the largest total weight between the 3 lifts, and you get 9 attempts total for all of them. There are judges on competition days that make sure that you're doing the lifts properly and that you aren't cheating in any way and you're following all the rules of the competition. They just basically make sure that everything is going smoothly. And I won't get into all the rules and everything, but for example, you have to squat to depth, you have to bench correctly, you have to deadlift correctly, and they just make sure that all happens. But now I want to explain what the equipment I use is and what makes this sport much different than regular powerlifting. So I want to start out by explaining what a bench shirt is. This shirt is made up of 2 layers of very tight polyester material. You put this over your arms, you can see the sleeve holes here, and it's skin tight to your chest. As you bench downwards, the shirt stretches over your chest, and on the bench movement, when you touch your chest, it gives you some spring off of your chest and helps you get more weight upwards. So it does help you get more weight in the long run, but it is different because it's much more technical and much more dangerous, as you have to be able to control that spring and control all of the movements required, or else it can end pretty badly. Now I want to talk about the squat suit. This squat suit is made up of 2 layers of a tight canvas material. This material is also skin tight, and as you squat downwards, it loads the material with energy, and when you squat upwards, it acts as a spring to help you get upwards on your squat movement. It's much different than raw lifting, as there's a lot more technique to it, and it's a lot more dangerous, and you just have to know what you're doing more, and there's a higher level of entry. You already have to have a good base of form, and you have to know how everything works in powerlifting. Now I want to actually get into my overall message of why I did this and what's important about it. So my overall message and what I learned from this semester is that you should fight through adversity and trust that what's on the other side is worth fighting for. I learned this a lot as I went through my project, and hopefully this presentation will help you see how I learned that and how you can apply it in your life too. But I won't dig into that right now. I'll talk about it more at the end, and hopefully it makes more sense as I go through my presentation. So for my project, I decided that I would set a goal of competing in this powerlifting meet. The specific programming I followed was much more difficult than I thought it was going to be. And I really enjoyed doing it because I learned about who I was as a person and what I could put myself through if I just chose to kind of grit my teeth and go through with it. And it taught me a lot of pride, and the training was extremely intense, but it was well worth it in the end. So on April 30th, I decided that I was going to compete. And on that day, I learned more about the sport than I thought I ever would. I didn't really know how it would go, but I just kind of decided to go through with it, and it was absolutely worth it. I was able to end up squatting 545 pounds, benching 315 pounds, and deadlifting 415 pounds, which I was very proud of because I didn't know if I would totally mess up or something like that, but it ended up going well enough, and I was really proud of it, and my coaches said it went really well, so I was glad. And it really learned me to push, it helped me realize that pushing through the struggle was worth it. All the training that led up to it was super difficult, and it made me want to quit a lot of the time, but I realized that it was going to be worth it, and I decided to just push through and see if it was worth it, and it absolutely was, and I don't regret it at all. Now I want to switch over to more of my research side of this semester. So this semester, I wanted to learn more about gym culture as a whole. So I decided to make my research question, how do different methods of working out in the gym help people reach their physical and mental goals? Because in my life, in my like kind of gym life, I've only really been exposed to powerlifting, so I wanted to learn more about what everyone else kind of does. So in my research project, I wanted to look at different methods of training specifically, because I really didn't know anything. So I kind of looked into things like CrossFit, sports-specific training like football training, Olympic weightlifting, bodybuilding, things that I really didn't know anything about. And it was just way different than powerlifting in general, and it really opened my eyes about how much you can really get done in the gym that I never really knew about. And I also learned a lot about the mental aspect of lifting and how it makes you feel a lot better, and I looked at multiple studies that kind of proved that it makes your mental health a lot better as well. So I learned a lot about that I really didn't know anything about. And I really learned from this side of the project that the gym can teach you lessons that really aren't just getting physically better. It can teach you grit, it can teach you how to get through life in ways that you wouldn't even have thought of unless you went to the gym. So it seems like it's just another gym project, but it really taught me more about life in general and how it can be applied to different areas of my life. And I learned that creating the habit of going and training is extremely challenging, but once you do, it's fully worth it, and it can really make you a lot better person as a whole. So if you push through that veil of uncertainty, it really will pay off in the end, even if you think it may not in the moment. It's just worth gritting your teeth and going through with it. So now I want to go and talk about my main takeaways of the semester as a whole. So I learned a lot about who I was and what I could do. And I feel like the only way you can kind of go through with that is if you push yourself through something that you really don't think you're able to do. And I truly experienced a lot of adversity and a lot of challenges. And when I pushed through them, I felt a level of pride that I never really had felt before. And I was really happy about it because I never really knew what I was able to do within the sport. And I just got to a new level that I was really happy with. I also met amazing new people and joined an amazing community. There are people that would help me out in competitions and stuff that I'd never met before, and I didn't know them at all, and they would just come and help me out. It's an amazing community that's willing to help anyone, drop anything they're doing and just help you out. And it really made me happy to join that community, and I absolutely wouldn't trade this project for anything because it helped me join that community, and it's something that I can really use for the rest of my life. And going back to my overall message, that's what I learned. I learned that you can join a community, you can make new friends, you can find pride in yourself by pushing through things that you really didn't think you could do. And that doesn't just apply to the gym, it applies to life in general. And I think that's really what I learned from the project. So, thank you for listening. Are there any questions?
What were some of the challenges that you had to push through?
Just really hard training sessions, things that I really thought I would just not be able to do. I would feel exhausted all the time, super tired, feeling I really needed to give up, but I just decided not to and trust that I was going to get better, and it did. Ryan?
Do you wear clothes underneath the suit?
Yes, I do. Zach?
Can you put it on?
I cannot put it on, though. It'll take a long time, because it's very tight.
How much do you bench?
315.
Do
Zach?
you sumo or conventional then?
You have to do sumo in the suit, because you can't do conventional at all.
Thank you so
Right.
much, John.
Yeah.